Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for coming today. My name is Scott Edinburgh. I'm the founder of Personal MBA Coach. I'm here to talk to you about some essay writing best practices. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Please remember to like and comment throughout the presentation today. And if you're watching this live, fantastic. Ask questions. If it's not live, feel free to email me any questions that you have. So we'll go over two brief slides about the background, about Personal MBA Coach, and then we'll jump into the meat of the presentation, and I'll further explain what we do a little bit later on. So I'm Scott. I'm the founder. I went to MIT for undergrad, Wharton for my MBA, and I've been running this company for the last 17 years. Former AGAC Board of Directors, Association of International Graduate Admissions Consultants. These are a few other folks on the team, and we have a broader team as well. Former admissions directors from top schools, and I run the company with my sister, who lives down the road from me. Most recently, I've been the number one rated consultant in the world, as well as a top boutique firm, and our clients get in with over 96% success rate, over 11 million in scholarships last year. So we can help you with all the parts of the process, figuring out your story, background, planning ahead, developing extracurricular leadership, GMAT, GRE tutoring, essays, interview prep. And we'll get into that a little bit later on, but let's jump into right away some key essay writing tips. So as you write, taking a step back, right? And we'll get to the slides in a minute, but the essays are the most important part. And so sometimes people reach out and they say things like, I just want help with the essays. And I'm like, that's the whole application, right? Like that's all that there is. I mean, there's a little stuff, the resume, short answer questions. Okay, for Harvard and Stanford, maybe they're not so short, but they're still, shorter in length. There's the resume and there's recommendation letters and there's interview prep and all that stuff, right? But the essays are the biggest part, right? The part where your story can shine. And we give a lot of talks on personal story. This is not a personal story webinar, so I won't talk about that. I would need an extra hour to talk about that. But what I will say is that I know a lot of you are thinking about personal story, right? And so while you're thinking about the personal story, consider the fact that the essays, right, are the one part that you have the opportunity to highlight what is different about you. Now, that said, they're also very specific. And so, when you consider what you're going to write, and we'll get into more of this a little bit later, don't think too strategically, meaning you don't want to have some, amazing, story that's going to sort of be in like every essay that you write. Some schools ask very specific questions for a reason, and we'll get into that. But brainstorming. Okay, brainstorming is the first part. Consider all these stories. Your first idea, it might not be your best, or it might be. When we work with clients, we have them fill out this whole initial information form. It's like their background and interest, and really get into a sense for what are all the different things that they might want to use. And so you might have an essay that sounds good, one example, but then that one example is not good. You come up with another. By the time you're at your fourth example, that's actually the best example. When possible, unique topics, but planning out the essays allowed you to avoid some overlap, because you have 3 essays and you don't want to answer the same thing for all of them. Answer the question asked, right? This is really, really important. And this seems like a simple thing, and you might think, let me thumbs down this video. Don't do it. Thumbs up, because look, this is really, really crucial. Every school is looking for something a little bit different in the application process, and they have different questions for that reason. Now, you might have spent a lot of time thinking about your story. And if you hired another firm, you might have spent too long, maybe personality tests and all kinds of stuff. We don't do that, right? We get very, very specific to the point based on the schools that you're applying to, because you could have the most grandiose story in the world about how your grandmother overcame, poverty, immigration, women's rights, a whole bunch of other things. And then that taught you to do X, Y, Z, ABC. And then the question is, tell me a time when you led and what you want to do after school. And you think, well, that story isn't relevant, right? Unless you led within one of these areas. So avoid the temptation to give a story that you want to tell, right? This isn't about what you want to tell them. It's about what they want from you. And admissions directors spend a lot of time. We know the directors really well. A lot of talks, travels, drinks. You get to know them through the AGAC board of directors. There's a lot of knowledge we have about what they want. And so they want what they want. And it's not necessarily what you want to tell them. You're not going to get to tell every school everything. And that's really important. You should be okay with that. There's an interview, right? If you have some really big personal narrative that doesn't fit into, I don't know, so MIT interviews came up today. Good luck to everyone who got invited. If you need some help, we have amazing MIT interview prep we can help you with. But MIT doesn't have a lot of personal stuff in their story, so you might not be able to tell everything. Now, that said, keep your personal story top of mind. Doesn't mean you're going to write it in every essay, but when you can, use this as like a chance to, weave in your uniqueness throughout the application process. You should have a picture, right? A consistent picture. You don't want to have a lot of different things. One of my strongest candidates, she actually did an early planning package with us. So if you're applying in a future year, we can help you to build up your profile and create nonprofits and all that sort of thing. She had so many things, like 8 different great leadership activities, a lot of different components. And we needed to whittle it down. You want to have a consistent person, a consistent story, not I'm playing in all these different, buckets, and therefore I'm the best, because you probably won't be. And don't try to force popular topics that are not relevant for you. This might be most important, right? So we're in an interesting world. It's October 2024, or whenever you're watching this, probably somewhere around there. What are topics that are important, right? The key societal issues, right? Socioeconomic challenges. If you're not a leader in that, don't just write about diversity because people write about diversity or care about diversity. If you don't, then don't make believe you do, because you're probably not going to win, right? The same goes for, freedom of speech, women's rights, right? Any of these large issues, you want to write where you can win, right? And so don't force a topic if it's not really you. Schools are shortening their essays overall. Now, look, we love INSEAD and know that team really well, travel a lot, but they're not shortening their essays. But a lot of the other schools are. So pretend that each word costs money. This is a little activity we do with clients sometimes. It costs $10 to write every word. Now, you can't apply for free, right? You hire a consultant. We're expensive, but then we got over $11 million in scholarships. We'll get into your school. Your salary will be higher. There's a huge ROI, right? And that's why around the world people do that. Pretend, in addition to a consultant, you have to pay to write each word. Do you need to use that word, right? So choose the words carefully. You have very, very few words. Don't write buzzwords or vague terms or extraneous details and things. Right? Make believe that you have to tell your essay to, let's say, a lawyer or a doctor or a grandmother or an aunt. Now, these people might be experts at what you're doing, but maybe they're not. Okay. Keep your language approachable. Keep it simple. There's no bonus points for writing something that's super creative. We have clients that are professional writers every year, and they hire us because the way they write is not the way that admissions directors want to read essays. So really, really be careful as you choose your words. Next, save time for multiple rounds of editing and proofreading. It takes time. Now, and you saw me talk a few days ago, some of you, I said it's not too late to apply for round 1. It's still not too late. A couple months is fine, right? But don't write a first draft of an essay on December 30th and then try to get drafts 2 and 3 right on December 31st and January 1st. Right? It takes time. You want to think about it, reflect, proofread. We catch hours, as does everybody. There's some common essay categories, right? You have a leadership essay, you have a why MBA or goals essay, personal story essay, contribution essay. These are just some common categories that we'll get into in a minute. Now, a little bit about us, right? You've heard me talk about what you should do, but you might be like, who is this guy and what is he talking about? So if you haven't seen me online, Google us, personal MBA coach. You'll find some stuff, but it's family run, right? I run it with my sister. Everyone can get some level of direct founder support. So if you're not my client, I wouldn't, work with you directly. And so you wouldn't have that relationship, but I might still read stuff behind the scenes. We talk about clients every week, multiple times. I'm a confident and common speaker, right? And so we give a lot of talks at MBA fairs and panels. We tend to get to know the directors, the applicants well, and so we know the topics and the key issues that are at hand. And we have relatively detailed essay guides, I would say. So we give you specific advice on what each school is looking for. If you want tutoring, we have some of the best tutors in the industry, in-house software that you can use to drive through the tutoring sessions, 48-hour turns, 7 days a week for essays. And once you get to the interviews, we have a team of former MBA interviewers. So if you're interested in getting support, you can reach out. We do not offer free profile evaluations, unfortunately. I do all the calls myself as the founder, and I'm serving clients and doing those initial calls. But if you want to hire a consultant, visit our website, and we're happy to chat further. I'll tell you more about our services at the end. But let's talk about this leadership essay. Right? So Kellogg has a leadership essay, and this is actually essay number 2. Apologies for that. One, this is an old slide. But Kellogg leaders are primed to tackle challenges everywhere, from the boardroom to their neighborhoods. Describe a specific professional experience where you had to make a difficult decision. Okay, reflecting on this experience, identify the values that guided your decision-making process and how it impacted your leadership style. So things to think about here, okay? Show, right? Show rather than tell. Go over specific actions that you took. This is a story: situation, action, result. This is not a let's write a lot of things that I've done or give me some story of so many different times, right? We talked about Harvard last week. That asks about leadership, many different leadership examples, right? This is one example. So one situation. Show how you use multiple skills, right? There's some challenge. You tackle the challenge. Maybe there were learnings. Maybe you're talking about, carrying these learnings towards future endeavors. At the end of the day, there's not a perfect answer. And you might say, what story is going to win? I don't know. I mean, people write a lot of different things and get in. Kellogg has had leadership essays for many, many years, and I don't see any pattern of one kind of story that works better than others. Now, they do give you a little hint. Describe a specific professional experience. So if you have something from outside of work, that doesn't belong in this essay, right? So again, pay attention to the wording. There's also values, right? It was difficult, right? So this isn't every story. It's got to be difficult. You have to have some values that guided you. Maybe there's something ethical that happened. Maybe something political. Communication values. Values can be a little bit loosely defined. You have to think about your leadership style as well. So this is definitely a little bit more reflective, but still factual. So next, Columbia has its goals essay, and many other schools do as well. Columbia, Chicago Booth, Wharton. So this is Booth, right? So how will the Booth MBA help you achieve your immediate and long-term post-MBA career goals? Very, very standard. You're going to talk about short-term. You're going to talk about long-term. You're going to talk about skills, right? What have you done? What do you want to do? How will Booth help you to close some of these skill gaps? Show that you know the culture. The school might not say that, right? They might not come out and say, tell us that you love us and explain 7 reasons why. And some schools do. They say, give me 3 things you want to do on campus, right? They're very direct. I want to know that you know exactly what you want to do and that you've done your research and that we are the right fit, right? Booth doesn't say that. But they just say, how will the MBA help you, right? So it's a little bit vague, right? What you want to do is you want to be clear about the specific things that Booth has to offer. So is it an analytically rigorous program? Are there a lot of, economists, right? Is research important here? Like, what are the things that you're getting out of Booth? Maybe Chicago, okay? This is what you want to be focusing on as you're thinking about, this essay and what you want to cover here. But what we have all clients do, we actually have everybody write a goals statement, 200 word on goals before they start doing anything else, just so that we can narrow that down and make sure that it's super clear and super specific. That way, once you get to this kind of an essay, you have your goals already done and half the job is finished. Probably not half, but 30, 40%, let's say. Now, there's no word limit, okay? So what does that mean? It's up to you. There are lengths that we have our clients usually write. Everyone does something a little bit different, but you want to think about using the words wisely. Right now, don't write a 250-word essay. I mean, if you do, don't bother applying. Basically, that doesn't show that you really care a lot. I guess it could be good, but we've never seen it. Right? But this doesn't have to be 1,000 words either. So figure out the length that works for you, and show your passion for the school, and do research. Talk to students and get a sense for what they are doing, and let them do some of your homework for you. So Columbia has this essay theory. We believe Columbia is a special place, collaborative learning environment in which students feel a sense of belonging, agency, partnership, right? Big words, academically, culturally, professionally. How would you co-create your optimal MBA experience at Columbia? Don't be thrown off by co-create. I was talking with an admissions director about this a few months ago, and she's like, that's the wording. The wording is different, right? It's different wording this year than has been previous years. Don't be thrown off by that too much. They want to know what you want to do. Right? At the end of the day, Columbia wants to know that you want to go to Columbia. And so as you're thinking about answering this question, what is your optimal experience? What does that mean, right? Maybe take a step back and think about What should an MBA experience really be like? What do you want to get out of it? Right? So a goals essay is, okay, here's what I want to do. Here's why the school is helpful for me. But this is like, I'm going to create the whole environment. It's a little bit more strategic. You might want to talk about, a club or an offering or some kind of seminar, right? Okay, you might want to talk about New York City, but this is the whole experience. And so the experience is cultural, it's academic, it's professional. It might be more, right? Maybe personal. Right? They don't write personal here. Maybe there's personal growth that you want to accomplish here. And there are ways that you are going to grow personally. And Columbia is the best place for you because of that. Right? This is probably the most personal essay that they have, although as you can see, it's not that personal. So if you spent a lot of time thinking about your life's hopes and dreams and personality, you might, be a little bit at a loss, right? You might feel unfulfilled, let's say. Stanford, okay, personal story. What matters most to you and why? So taking a step back, why does Stanford still ask this, right? They haven't changed their question in a long time. Harvard changed their questions this year. Kellogg changed their essays this year. Booth changed it not that long ago, a few years ago. Wharton changed it a while ago, but still more recently than Stanford. Stanford doesn't change. So why is that, right? They want to get to know you. You have good stats. You're strong, right? If you're not, don't apply to Stanford, basically, right? But most people that apply are strong. That doesn't mean you need to have a perfect profile to get in. You don't need to have a perfect test score or near perfect, but it has to be strong, right? So they know that academically you're going to be good. And so they lead with this, what matters to you, okay? They want innovators, right? They want you to, change people, change businesses, change the world. And they want to know how you're going to change that. They want to know how you have changed that. Stanford cares a lot about leadership. And they don't write that in this essay, but let's show them that you were a leader through this. If you write about a topic that matters to you and you don't talk about how you led through this topic, you're missing an opportunity. That's what they want, right? And it's not, I'm a member of an organization and I go to meetings and I, ran the charity fundraiser this year, right? True leadership, like actually doing something that's going to make a difference, and be honest with yourself. Okay, if you don't have that, start doing it. It's never too late. But really think about your personal story. Who are you? What brings you to this process? I mean, is it that you have been, playing music your whole life, and music was the way that you could escape from a stressful reality at home because there was a tough personal situation. I'm making this up literally as I talk. So this could be anything, but let's say, okay, music, I'm escaping this personal situation. I wasn't confident growing up. Okay, I was pushed a lot. My parents were tough. I was stressed out. Okay, my family is all really smart. And so everyone around me is smart. And the expectations are really high. And I wasn't sure that I could live up to those expectations. So music was one way in which I could do something different. I was always good at music. I could play. I could sing. That came naturally to me. And so knowing I wasn't going to be the best statistician or biomedical something, I turned to music. But I'm not going to say music matters to me, right? I mean, maybe I will, right? Maybe that's the right story. But perhaps there's something a little bit different, right? Maybe it's not music that matters to me. Maybe it's, again, I'm thinking this all live. I don't often rehearse these things. So let's see, what else besides music could matter to you? Instead of music, you could have communication, right? Maybe trust. Building trust is important. What does that have to do with music? Well, if you're playing in a choir, you have to trust other people. You have to know sound cues and timing. And I'm not a music expert, but there's a lot that you have to, absorb, right? Follow the conductor and understand, styles, right? So all of a sudden, right, I play this music, but really it's something else that matters to me. Now, yeah, it could be, okay, free speech or clean water, right? Something that's like a topic that people know about, but it doesn't have to be, right? It doesn't have to be. And again, back to an earlier point that we made, write where you can win. Don't write about a topic just because it's something that is important, okay? Equality, right? No, if that doesn't matter to you, don't write about it, right? They know it's going to be honest or it's not going to be honest. And you have to have a lot of data. I mean, you have to write about what you did. Like, why does this matter, right? If you say equality was something unequal for you growing up, right? If you had a fine upbringing with no challenges, maybe equality isn't the thing that's important to you. What did you do around this thing, right? Where did you lead? What was your impact around this topic? And what is your impact going to be going forward? At the end of the day, a narrow topic is good. You're not going to write about everything. So don't worry like, oh, what if I don't touch A, B, C? Quote, Stanford wants to read this. No. Anyone that tells you what Stanford wants, they're not worth anything, right? Stanford doesn't want anything. Stanford takes a lot of different people. I mean, it's not that they don't want anything, but there's not one particular thing that they want. So there's not one story. Don't write about entrepreneurship because it's in Silicon Valley, right? People write a lot of different things. I mean, you could write about communication here. Like there's so many topics that could make sense for you. It just has to matter to you. And we have to see what you did around this topic to have an impact. Now, if you're not applying to Stanford and you're like, well, this isn't relevant for me, take this advice for any other school that you might be applying to as well. Right, a strong answer is going to balance the why and the what. So why is this important to you? Let me have some background, right? Get personal. The what? What is this thing? Speak from the heart. Like, what have you done around this thing? What do you want to do around this thing going forward? So that it's a complete answer. So there's a contribution essay for Wharton. Let me just check see if any relevant questions so far. Feel free to ask questions. We usually do the questions at the end, but I feel like there might be some relevant here, so I might stop to see them along the way. Okay, let's see. Those could be asked after. Okay. Okay, these are all great questions. I'll answer all of them. Let me go through some more essay stuff. If there's anything really related to that particular slide, then of course ask it. I'm happy to answer. Okay, so taking into consideration your background, personal, professional, and or academic, how do you plan to make specific, meaningful contributions to the Wharton community? So this is 400 words, okay? So what are you going to do at school? You can cover maybe one or two different things about you. You might want to talk about what you've done around this item so that you can sort of qualify it. And I will do X. Right, and here's how or why I will do X because of this thing that I've done before that's, let's say, similar to X. And be specific. This is not the time to write something general about being a leader in the healthcare club. Okay, what does that mean? What does it mean to be a leader in the healthcare club? What does the healthcare club do? What is it that you're going to do? How is it actually going to be specific and meaningful? So in order to have a meaningful contribution, we have to be specific, right? And so it's important to do your research. Now, Wharton is not one of those schools that cares a ton about engagement, meaning there's not a tracker and they say if she hasn't visited 4 times, -1, he visited 6 times, +1. That doesn't happen. But if you engage with people and you learn about the program, it might give you some content to write about for this essay. These are some more unique essay categories, right, from outside the M7. So there's a choice essay, and many schools have these essays, right? I mean, Georgetown has a choice, right? A lot of schools do, but choice meaning there's more than one answer. How to address choice essays, right? Often people are like, well, there's 3 options, but there's one that they really want. If I figure it out, I'm going to sneak myself into the school and get a spot. No, it doesn't work that way. There are multiple essays. There are multiple essays for a reason. Now, some might be easier to write. Some might be essays that the school is used to reading, and maybe that some admissions directors have more experience in seeing answers to. But there's no bad essay. There could be a bad essay for you, but there's not like a specific wrong answer here. So again, try to game the system here. Now that said, pick an easy essay. I mean, if there's an option for a diversity essay and there's an option for something about a contribution to a team and you don't have a good diversity example, don't write one, right? I mean, write where you can win. Again, you are your own applicant. Don't try to be somebody else. It's okay to, select an essay that allows you to like talk about the best things about you, right? The whole point of this is to show them what you've done and why you should be strong. I'll say a couple more things on choice essays. Maybe think about the stories first. I know in some ways that goes against what I said. This is why you need a consultant, because even my advice in some cases, we actually change. So we say, oh, answer the question asked, right? Don't think about, but if you have different options, I might think about, well, what are my best things that I want to tell, right? What are my most impressive stories? And based on that, maybe one's going to slide into one essay, better than the other. So you can think about that. So Yale SOM, and if you're interested in Yale, visit our website. We have a lot of interviews with admissions directors. There's one I'm interviewing Alexis Marcus from MIT Sloan. That'll be on our website coming up soon, so look for that. We have an interview with the Yale head of admissions. My sister actually interviewed Bruce. So check out that if you'd like on personalmbacoach.com. But Yale asks three questions. Okay, and you pick one of them. So describe the biggest commitment you've ever made. Why is this commitment meaningful to you? What actions have you taken to support it? This is the essay that they've had for a while. So if you want to go with let's say tried and true Yale essay, this is it. Everyone's used to reading this, and this is what I would say most people are writing. But it doesn't mean it's the right one for you. There's also a community essay. Maybe you don't have a big commitment. You're like, what? I haven't, been committed to like soccer or women's rights or poverty or something. But I'm really involved in my community, and there are all these things that I've done around your community. Well, first of all, the biggest commitment could be the commitment to your community, right? So these essays are all sort of interchangeable, but you could just talk about the community. Describe the community that's been most meaningful to you. What's the most valuable thing you've gained from the community? And what's the most important thing you've contributed to the community? Now, if you are a minority, then you might want to write this essay and talk about your community, because with the Supreme Court ruling, they can't accept people just based on what you look like, but they can want you based on what you look like. Very, very clear sort of delineation. But they need to accept you based on other things, right? So if they accept you based on the great things that you've done for your community, so here's a great example of a place where you can write that. Next is describe the most significant challenge you have faced. How have you confronted this challenge, and how has it shaped you as a person? This is probably the least common one that we've seen this year. Not that means anything. Maybe it's the best essay. Who knows? But some kind of challenge, right? What happened with this challenge? I don't recommend just like copying and pasting across all your schools, but if there's a leadership essay with a challenge in Kellogg, maybe the topic is somewhat similar, but this does seem like a different essay. How did you confront the challenge? How does it shape you? Right. So you have to think about what is the place where you're going to lead and when, rather. And community is a really good one. Now, commitment. Okay, there has to be time. I haven't been committed to something for a week or a month, probably not a year, possibly. I guess if it was a really tough year, someone had a tough medical condition that you had to handle, but likely commitments over a longer period of time. It's like, what have you done? What do you want to do around this commitment going forward as well? So if you're going to do the commitment, select one commitment. Okay, the biggest commitment. It's not select or describe some of the many commitments that you've had. It's one commitment. Why is it important to you? Choose something that you've dedicated significant time to. If you haven't spent a lot of time, it's not a commitment. Okay, Michael Jordan didn't get to be a good basketball player by not playing basketball a ton. Every minute he played basketball that he could. So that was a commitment. Be genuine, right? Be genuine. This is where honesty is going to be helpful. Or try to fluff something up, right? It's very easy to read BS in this process. So if it's something that you're like, ooh, let me make it sound really good, I'm going to make it sound like it was this huge commitment, you're probably just going to hurt yourself. I'd rather make it sound like it's a medium commitment if that's all it really was. Again, being genuine is really important. So next is a wild card essays, right? So we have a couple examples. I kept this a little bit brief to give more time for Q&A at the end. So Duke's 25 facts about you. Okay. Duke Fuqua is amazing. Love the school. The admissions team is wonderful. I actually did this mock exercise where I had to create 6 facts, and that was presented to admissions. And if I remember correctly, this exercise we did on campus, it was like analyzed by the admissions team too. So that was kind of fun. I won't read the whole essay here, but 25 random things. Okay, embrace you and something about your story here. Demonstrate growth, right? Self-awareness. Ask friends. Right. The most important point is the last one. Have fun. They want to accept fun people. All these schools do, right? Don't be boring. Don't be obnoxious. Just be cool, relaxed, fun, and be interesting. So they shouldn't be totally random. I mean, it's not like, I don't know. I have 7 stacks of paper on my desk right now, and one of them is wet, right? Like, that's weird. Why did we say that? Right? They should have something that says something about you so that I want to accept you because of this, right? I'm getting to know you as a person. Maybe there's different themes, okay, within this. But this is fun, right? Enjoy this. This is not the kind of thing where grammar and punctuate. Don't worry too much about that, right? Just write the items that are going to, paint a really interesting picture about you. And Duke cares a lot about you caring a lot about them. It's a two-way street. So if you don't show them that you care about the school, it's not likely that they're going to want to take you on campus. And so think about that throughout the whole Duke application. They want passion. They want fun people. They want a really good culture, right? Their GMAT score is not as high as some of their competitors. Why? It's not because the students are weaker. Students are amazing. It's because they take people that are fitting what they want. And if that means their test score is not as strong, well, guess what? Maybe their GPA is really high. Their work experience is amazing. And they get the person that, Columbia said no to because the GMAT wasn't high enough for Columbia. And so they become an excellent student at Duke and go on and get a better job, right? So these are things to think about. Okay. So we're actually going to probably skip that one for now. So a little bit more details about us, right? For those who missed some of the earlier content. Again, I'm Scott Edinburgh, founder of Personal MBA Coach, #1 rated consultant in the world. Last year, we were the #1 boutique firm, 96% success rate. Everyone has the option of working either with me or former M7 admissions director if you want. We also have top MBA graduates from schools. Develop your story, right? School support, essay guidance, unlimited editing. The process starts with tutoring. Okay, maybe you need help, maybe you don't. If you need tutoring help, we have a few spots. We're almost full. Some of our tutors are full. We have a few spots left if you want tutoring. We have the best tutors in the industry. It's not too late for round 2. We can do it, but you might still have to tutor in January because it's possible that you don't get your dream score by the end of the year, and you might have to keep studying to hopefully update them during an interview. We'll help you with brainstorming, right? Figuring out your story, your background. Select the school. School selection is important. You might pick schools based on personality, profile, career fit, chance of getting in, geography, region, right? All these things, and we can help to figure out the right places for you. All the resume editing, essay guidance, essay editing. If you want to work with us, we should schedule a time to talk further, and you can learn a little bit more. Feel free to scan this QR code that takes you right to the consultation page. Again, we offer consultations if you are in market to hire a consultant. So please visit our website, check out our rates. And if that fits what you want, then we'd be more than happy to schedule some time to talk. So we're going to go to some questions now. And feel free to ask anything that's on your mind that we didn't get to, or if there are other topics. You can even type in say, I don't have a question. Questions are stressful. I don't ask questions. Instead, I'm going to write a topic. I'm going to write letters recommendation, or I'm going to write rounds, right? Whatever comes to your mind, just feel free to write down what you want me to talk about. And as you can tell, I just talk about a lot of things. So let's see. Greetings from Nepal. I want to highlight my particular concern regarding how to narrow down on the options for an essay. We love our folks from Nepal. We have a few a year. Should it be more aligned to my future ambitions or the story I want to tell? That's a great question, right? As you probably learned in the talk that I gave, it's going to vary based on the school and based on the essay that you have to tell, the essay that you have to write, rather. If it's a personal narrative, then definitely, right, your story becomes really important here. But if it's not a personal essay, then maybe it is more aligned to your future ambitions. They want to have a whole picture of you, so they want to know, what have you done, what do you want to do, How will the school help you to get there? And what are some things that you need to do in order to, get from point A to point B? Okay. So will experience of option trading count if you're self-employed? Yeah, any work experience counts. I mean, you can do anything as long as it's a job. It might not be the right job, but it's still a job, and most jobs are fine. I mean, look, if you work retail, like in a store or something, like that's probably not good. But other than that, I mean, retail managers, warehouse managers, that's fine. So yeah, we actually have a number of people that are that are traders. Now, if you're self-employed, that is a very hard thing to overcome. We've had that. We've done this before. We've had multiple professional poker players actually as clients get into top 10 schools. What did they do? They literally just played poker. That's what they did. But we did this, we did that, we get some training. There's other stuff that we can think about and sort of expand to. So if you're working on your own and trading, I think that there's some work to do. We certainly want to develop some leadership. We should start working through like an early planning offering here. But yes, it definitely counts as experience. How to find loopholes in your essays? I mean, what if there might be some options that my essay hints at, but what if it's not addressed in the application? Does it count as a loophole if I'm not wrong? So some questions in my essay hints at, but it's not addressed in the application. Loophole from nowhere. Well, I'm not sure if I fully got your question, so feel free to rephrase it if I'm not answering the question that you wanted me to answer. But look at the words, right? One thing I like to do, and I do this sometimes, is let's say there's a question, right, and it's like 3 lines or 4 lines or 5 lines. Okay, they ask a lot of different things. Highlight each different like number of words with a different color. So if it's like, what are your post MBA goals, comma, and, okay, well then that's blue. And then the and, how will XYZ? Okay, so that's yellow, right? And then it's like, and also, what have you considered, right? So that's green. So we're highlighting the different parts of the question in colors. Then we're going to the answer. Now, this is where the fun comes in. We did a ding report, which if you don't get in somewhere and you want to figure out why, you got the wrong consultant, you didn't get a consultant, whatever, you want to come to expert, like come to me, we can do a ding report. So we look at your application and we tell you what's wrong. I did a ding report for someone once, and I highlighted I just did one highlight color. I highlighted the writing about goals, right? So it was a post MBA essay. It was a Wharton essay. And I highlighted the writing about goals. And the goals writing was like so small. It's 500-word essay. It's like 2 lines on goals. Very, very, very minor. And I said, look, you missed the whole point. I mean, how anybody looked at this and let you submit it, I have no idea. I mean, there's a variety of different types of support out there. But in any case, like you missed the whole point. You didn't write what your plans are. So one task is a loophole, highlight the different parts of the question in different colors, and then highlight your answer in those colors as well and see how it compares, right? Is it like a perfect, rainbow where the colors all float, or is it like most of it is green and there's like a little yellow, a little red? You might think, maybe I didn't properly answer the question in the right balance that there should be. So that's one way to find a loophole. So are the documents required for validation if I show statements from my TMATAC that will act as a valid proof, or will it work without proof as well? So as far as proof, there's no proof that's required when you apply. You write whatever you want to write on the resume, you apply, they read it, and then they just evaluate you. And if they like you, then they interview you. They assume everybody's being honest. Now, that said, well, you should be honest because that's the right thing to do. But also what happens later, if you're like, well, what if I write this? Don't do it. But also they're going to have background checks that happen. So independent companies will come and we'll see, Scott said he made $278,000 last year. He made $78,000. That's a mistake, right? And you don't want to come back and say, I added a 2. It's like, that probably didn't happen. Right. So be honest. Salary should be within $1,000, right? Things like that. But you don't need any statements or proofreading. If you're being honest, you're fine, right? Nobody that's honest ever gets in trouble for anything at the end of the day. So you don't actually need any proof. You just need to do the right things, and they'll figure out on the back end how they can verify what you did or didn't do. So next question from Pooja. Do you think that writing blogs and LinkedIn on topics like women's rights or poverty could have any impact on our application, or how does it impact our applications? I mean, it depends on your story, right? If we're writing a whole application on women's rights, and that's what you're going to sell, you're this big advocate for female equality and women's rights around the world, then yeah, the more stuff they have, the better. Admissions directors Google, right? And this is, it's not like you fill it out in the PDF and what's there is there. And if there's a Facebook picture of you attacking somebody with a baseball bat, that's going to hurt you, right? It's a free world. Everything is open. You can evaluate anyone however you want. So the more that you do something, the more it could help you or hurt you in some cases. So if that's going to support your story and they look you up and they see, and they might not look you up, you never know, right? But everything is open. And there might be channels that you don't even know about. So one of my admissions director friends, I won't name her, she calls up friends at companies and and said, what do you think about this person, right? It's a small world. And so everyone's using the data and knowledge they have to see, how good something, how true it is. So if you're writing a bunch of blogs about something, that's great. If you write about all your passion for women's rights and you Google your name and women's rights and nothing comes up anywhere, right? Maybe that doesn't help you as much. I was a professional football player for 7 years, and that resulted in lower grades in college. Does that impact my admission? So we have professional sports players every year that come to us. So definitely reach out if you want some help. We can help you. We actually have we've had a former Super Bowl, NFL MVP. I mean, a whole Olympic winners. I mean, all up and down. Yes, that does help, because if they look, let's say me. Okay, so I did not play professionally anything, unless you consider watching Sopranos professional. I mean, it was hard, right? It's good work, but I sat in my dorm, I watched Sopranos, and I did other leadership stuff at school, but and then I got my grades. Okay, if you're in sports, especially in school, that takes a lot of time. So yes, that is something that they're going to take into consideration. Plus, you won't be competing with the same people. It's not. They don't put the professional sports players against the private equity and venture capital folks and see who got the higher test score. I mean, of course, who's going to get the higher test score? The people that work with numbers all the time, or the person who doesn't at all? So it will help you. It will help to differentiate you, and it also helps to explain the GPA a little bit. So overall, that's great, and we can certainly help you to think through that. Can we have bullet points or numbered points in general in essays? That's a good question. I don't like doing that. I can't say that there's any specific rule that bans you from doing that, but I don't like that. I think paragraph is better. It's more professional. It's tighter. It's cleaner. Unless they okay, do 25 random things. That yes, then you can use that. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't have bullets in the essays. Okay. So here's a question. I grew up homeless. That shaped my worldview on homeless. My short-term goal is to go into IB to learn the financial skills to create my own impact fund focused on affordable housing. That's a good story, man. First of all, good for you. We've had homeless clients before, some that were homeless for a while, others that were homeless for periods of time, right? And that factored into their story. That's a lot. They want that. They want because that tells them, I mean, if you accomplish that, there's a lot that you can accomplish. And they know that. And so whether fair or not fair, it's going to be easier for you to get in versus the trust fund kid, right? Just because you've accomplished more. So I think that does help, but we want to be clear about more the what have I done? You won't get bonus points exclusively just because you grew up homeless, or fill in the blank. I didn't have a parent. I didn't have something. I had too much of something. Everyone had write different things. It's more like, what have you done with this? So if you want to help others, okay, well, what have you done so far? Also, what's interesting is banking, affordable house. I mean, do you just want to go into real estate? Now we're getting into me consulting you, which I don't need to do on this call. But right, real estate, you can more sort of directly do affordable housing, right? We work with a lot of real estate folks. I studied real estate at Wharton, but in any case, yes, that will help you throughout this process. Great advice. How did you get so well in communication? Your technique to practice speech. Thank you. Well, I appreciate the kind words. I don't know if I'm that good, but I really appreciate that. Honestly, it's just practice. It's funny. I grew up stuttering, and I took 3 public speaking classes when I was at Wharton, and I think it helped me. I wasn't that great at this earlier on. I don't know how great I am, but I appreciate the kind words. Practice, right? I've given thousands of these webinars over the years. Now I talk about things without even rehearsing. So it's just something like anything else, right? With time, you get better. Just like writing. This is why people apply to a lot of schools. You apply to 6 or 7 schools really to maximize your odds of getting in. You don't see, I want to go to Stanford. You don't just apply to Stanford, right? You never have people do that. Maybe one person every year or two, man, super, super rare, right? Because then your first essay, it's not going to be your best. So like anything else, practice makes things better. Go with your backup school first, then go with your medium, and then, go for your sort of reach school a little bit later on when you've practiced and you think about it. And public speaking is important, right? Communication is important. Schools are having more and more, they're having more live things come into this, so videos, and they're stressful. I get it. We can help you. We have a whole process around that. But they're having like recorded videos, and then they're having live videos, and and then interviews, and all this group interviews, and all this stuff, because the presence is important. Someone else is going to see you and talk with you and decide if they want to hire you. And so the most important thing is for you to be a strong person, right, in front of other people in a live situation. I mean, that's the whole point of this. If you are like the most amazing person that's ever existed and you can't interview well, you're going to hurt the career stats if you don't get a good job. So presence is important, and it's something that's hard to teach. Now, we coach people through interviews. We have former interviewers on the team, and with some really, really good interview prep, we can get up your skills and improve the confidence and all that. But at the end of the day, that is something that's important. So final sort of closing words from me, I would say that you want to be honest. Okay. You want to be yourself throughout this whole process. That sounds like I'm an admissions. Look, I don't just say BS to say it. I'm saying what's not that they do either, but the point is, like, these are honest things. Everybody's being honest, right? So an admissions director might tell you to be honest, to be yourself, because that's what's going to work. If you try to write something that they want to hear, it's probably not going to work, right? Everyone has their own background, their own story. Now, also, it's not the end of the year. So if you're looking at an essay and you're like, you know what, I just don't have a good answer for this. And we saw this. We had the client last week, and it was about a time when they, helped someone, and they're like, I haven't helped people. Okay, don't go and beat yourself up. Right? Everyone has different experiences and different opportunities to help. If you haven't done it, that's great. Now, if you don't want to help someone, well, then maybe go and beat yourself up. But if you just haven't had the chance, right? Now's the time to try to create that chance. To put yourself into a situation where you can help someone. There's no rule in writing an essay that says this has to have been done before, September of 2024. If you really don't have a good story, go and do something and then write about it, and that way you have that story. And it's more recent, right? And it feels real, and it feels, active. You're like, well, last month, I did X, Y, Z. Now, maybe I only did it after reading the essay, but, who knows? Either way, it's still can come. Take the time, start early. Voting, right? Voting's coming up, right? Vote early, vote often. Write early, write often. It's going to take you a lot of time to go through this process. And have enough schools. Even if you are super, super strong, and I can say this without insulting anyone because I don't know who anyone is, and I'm just talking to a camera. apply to a lot of schools. I mean, 6 or 7, that's usually what we see. Don't just go for like, well, the quote I love hearing is, I really want to focus on my core schools and make them stronger. It doesn't make them stronger if you just apply to 2 or 3 schools. It doesn't. It doesn't. There's time to do more. What it does is it makes them weaker because you don't have the experience writing other schools. And it makes you weaker and less likely to get in because you don't have those options. So there's no such thing as, oh, let me just do 2 and that way they'll be stronger. They're probably not. In fact, they'll probably be weaker because you spent too long on them. You don't need to spend 7 months writing an essay, right? At some point, you get to a really good product and then you overdo it and it gets worse. I see it all the time. So keep in mind the numbers of schools. I saw some other questions pop up, so let me look at this. Okay. Is it too late to get an MBA at age 29? No, 29 is not too late. First of all, the age, technically in the US, they can't evaluate you based on age, but they can based on years of work experience. And that's what's more relevant. I mean, you could be 29 years old, but you were in the military for 2 or 3 years. You were in school for 2 years in a master's program. Right? So it's like, who knows? I mean, it's really the number of years of experience that you're thinking about. And by the way, military counts as experience. But no, age 29 is fine. Even if you've been working since college, that's 7 years of experience. That's still in range. It might not be the youngest out there, but still definitely in range. And we can talk about that. If you're later than others, we could talk about the reasons why you were later as well. So again, remember to like this video, subscribe to the GMAT Club YouTube channel, subscribe to Personal MBA Coach YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel as well. If you want content, you're like, hey, I don't know about this consulting thing, I just want content, visit our website. We have a ton of advice, videos, school guides, essay stuff, a whole presentations, right? personalmbacoach.com. And if you want to get in, hire us, we will get you in. And we don't take people that we don't think will get in. It's extremely rare to take a client and have them not get in. So we'll say no to you, and we say no to people regularly. But usually we say yes, right? We're not scary. You don't have to quote, some places do this, apply. You don't have to quote apply to work with us. I mean, you submit forms, we look at you, we'll give you some feedback on your school choices or anything. But definitely reach out if you want to get some help, and wishing everybody the best of luck on this journey. Thank you for being here with me today, and I look forward to hopefully talking with some of you soon.